I 28 male found out that my GF 25 female once had a threesome with her sister 22 female and it creeps me out. I have been dating a girl I'll call Jess for just over a year now. From the beginning I thought she was a great girl and we really clicked. So generally things have been going great between us. But as the title suggests, I got a huge curveball recently. A couple of weeks ago Jess and I were hanging out with her sister, who I'll call Ann, who was visiting from out of town. I've hung out with Ann before and she also seems like a great girl who is actually very similar to her sister. Well, we were drinking quite a bit that night and at one point Ann brought up a sexual encounter she recently had. While I am not a prude, I didn't really feel comfortable talking about sex with my GF sister, so I gently tried to tell them to take the conversation back to PG territory. At that point Ann kinda laughed and said it's not like talking about sex is a big deal between them given all they've been through. I thought she just meant that they were sisters, but Jess had a weird look on her face, so I asked her what she meant. After some prodding they basically admitted that 3 years ago when Jess was still in college she brought home a guy one time when Ann was visiting her and they basically had an unplanned drunk threesome. My reaction was just WTF. Both Jess and Ann seemed like normal, maybe even slightly conservative girls. So the idea that they would do this was just batshit to me. I asked them if they regretted it, but basically they said that even though it was a mistake, they didn't necessarily feel bad about it. The booze was hitting us pretty badly at that point and we called it a night soon after that. We didn't mention it again until Ann left a day later. But then I had another conversation with Jess. I told her that what her sister told me made me very uncomfortable. Her response was to get defensive and say it's not like she can change anything, so what's the point of dwelling on it. She said she obviously wouldn't do something like that ever again. The problem is somehow the situation really bothers me. I know it sounds like a fantasy to some people, but I find it quite the opposite. I don't really know how to explain it. I suppose they did nothing wrong, per se, but the idea very much weirds me out. It's even weird to think about being around and again knowing that they have this kind of history. I am not really sure exactly what advice I am looking for, but I just want an outside perspective. Should I try to have another conversation with Jess? Am I making a bigger deal out of this than I should? To be honest, I even found myself considering breaking up over this situation since part of me is afraid I'll never be able to look at Jess the same after this. Too long didn't read I found out that my GF and her sister had a threesome once before we met. The situation creeps me out and is making me reconsider the relationship. I wonder if the act is the big deal for you, or how she plays it off, or maybe a bit of both. If she told you all three of them were greatly impaired, remembered less than nothing about it, and it was the biggest, most horrifying, shameful thing she had ever done, would it have changed your approach to this? Maybe she's being blaze and evasive because she is super ashamed that it happened. Just a thought. I certainly don't know her as a person, and you do have every reason to be put off by this. Why would the sister bring it up? That's just weird. Was she fishing to see if maybe you would be up for it? I guess it seems strange to bring something like that up. I know I would never in a million years let anyone know I've done that, no matter how comfortable I am with sex and talking about. I am definitely not a prude. The reason why the sister brought it up was because OP was trying to keep the conversation PG. Sis took offense to being told what to do, and in her rebellion she threw Op's girlfriend under the bus. I don't think she was fishing, but just wanted to throw it in his face for shock factor. Like me and my sis are not that innocent. Second story. Update: boyfriend 29 male admitted that I am the oldest girlfriend 21 female he's ever had and now I want to break up with him. I could not post an update on the original post because it got removed after reaching a cap. It has been a difficult time, to be honest. My world has been turned upside down and I have been reeling from everything that happened. I cannot link to the previous post, but basically my 29-year-old boyfriend nonchalantly admitted to dating a 15 years. When he was 27 and a 17 years. When he was 28 before he got with me. I had been staying over at his place for the week, and when I woke up from what I could only describe as a depression nap, he was already in his home office working. I took the opportunity to pack my things and brace myself for what I was about to do. A part of me was still very much in denial of him being a predator, and so I opted to fix breakfast so that I could get him to talk about it more and find out the true extent of these relationships. I brought up his ex whilst we were eating, and he was more than inclined to talk about her. She went to the same high school as his sister, 20 female, and that is how he met her. My now ex-boyfriend makes a 6-figure salary and he drives a really flashy car, which he says was the reason she approached him to check it out. He continued to insist that she threw herself at him and used him for his money. When they finally got together, I asked him about the girl's parents, and he said he met them and that they clearly didn't like him, but as long as their daughter was happy, they were all right with it. That particular line did me in, but he harped on about how the dad never let him near his other kids and how much convincing it took for her parents to finally be all right with her sleeping over at his place. He says that they broke up because she found someone wealthier and she dumped him. He apparently met the second girl, 17 female, he dated online. I asked for specifics and he said she lied about her age on Tinder because she was turning 18 soon anyway. She apparently specified this in her bio and they just clicked, but he was only looking for a rebound, so they didn't really date, they just ducked his exact words. That apparently lasted a month until she dumped him as well. When I asked him if he prefers girls in that age range, he said for sex yes, but obviously I want a more mature woman to grow old with, and he looked at me as if that statement was supposed to somehow reassure me or make me feel better. I couldn't act passive anymore after that, and I told him I do not think I am the woman he is going to grow old with. An argument ensued and he told me I was a horrible duck anyways. How dare you accuse me of such a horrible thing? You're sick. When I told him his proclivity for young girls was not normal and it might do him some good to get help for it, I grabbed my bags and drove back to my apartment. Hindsight truly is 2020 because so many red flags are glaring me in the face. I am petty 5'4", 120 pounds, and he always liked how small I was. He constantly commented on it. I am not saying this is wrong. People have preferences, but looking at the entire series of events, this is a bit eerie. There were a few times where he told me I remind him of his ex, and even though it made me feel uneasy, I just dismissed it as him having a type. I also didn't know at the time that she was a teenager. He has been insistent on me moving in with him and quitting my job because he makes enough money for both of us to live comfortably, and he made it sound so romantic. I was genuinely considering it. I think he might have been trying to isolate me. He already didn't like most of my friends. He was also very emotionally manipulative. All the times he has ever guilt-tripped me or used the things I told him in confidence against me all came rushing into my mind. I am starting to see how far from perfect our relationship was, and I am sick to my stomach thinking about it all. We are in Washington, and I do not know how I can possibly stop him from doing this to someone else because I have no evidence, and I am afraid my claims will be dismissed if I report him. I am also concerned about how this will affect the victims in this case. Is it really alright for me to report something on their behalf? I would like some advice on this. The guilt will eat me up if I do nothing. Too long didn't read. I dumped my boyfriend because he didn't see anything wrong with him dating teenagers. But now I do not know how to stop him from victimizing even more young girls. Third story. My fiance's sister, 28 female, told me she's in love with me, 27 male, and my fiance, 28 female, is just settling for me. My fiance, Nancy, and I are getting married in December. We've been going through a small rough patch since late June. I felt like everything was okay, but we were just out of sync. We've been together for 2 years, and this has happened before, and we just come out of it usually. I have a very good relationship with my fiance's twin sister, Peggy. We hung out a lot before she introduced me to her sister. So I've known her longer, and she's one of my best friends and is probably the person that knows me the best other than my family and Nancy. She and her sister also have a great relationship. No resentment, no anger towards each other, just sisterly love. Saturday I received a string of messages from Peggy that were telling me to not marry Nancy. She told me she didn't love me like she should, and if we got married we'd be in a loveless, sexless marriage. I told her I didn't believe her. She sent me screenshots of messages between her and Nancy. I wish I hadn't read them. She said that I wasn't the love of her life, that I wasn't her soulmate, that I was just a good option and would be a good provider and great dad to her kids, that I was nice guy that any girl would be lucky to have, but he's not the one for me. I asked Peggy why she told me all of this, and she said she's my best friend and she loves me. She said she's wanted me forever, but couldn't come between me and her sister like that. She said she'd love me like a wife should, that she fantasizes about being with me intimately, and that I drive her crazy. She asked me to leave Nancy and come be with her. I'm so confused. I don't know what to do about anything. I feel like my life had been turned completely upside down. I don't know where to go from here. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to our channel.